Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going over the best VR games that you could pick up for under $20. Now this video was inspired by two factors. The first is these absolutely insane sales that are currently running throughout the month of May, and the second is the new spending trends that we're starting to see from MetaQuest gamers, as they tend to favor titles that are $20 or less. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but let's just start this video off with some of those sales before we get into the games that are under $20 year-round. So first up is one of my all-time favorite series, and that is Moss Book 1 and 2. These are action-adventure puzzle platformers with the world's cutest mouse protagonist, Quill. I went in with low expectations and was absolutely blown away. The developers have created a stunning world with an insane level of detail. They've done a fantastic job bringing Quill to life, and every aspect from the storytelling, combat, parkour, and puzzles are all top-notch. These games are already a steal at $20, but they're both currently on sale from Steam from 50 to 60% off, and there's also a bundle deal. So if you've never played Moss before, go remedy that right now and take advantage of this sale. Now, a few additional sales that are hard to pass up on include the Resident Evil 4 Remake for the PlayStation VR 2. Now, I'm sure most people are familiar with the series and specifically this game. It's already been remade countless times in the past 15 years on multiple different platforms, ranging from Gamecast all the way up to the PlayStation VR 2. And I will say this latest remake version is hands down one of the best. It's that same Resident Evil experience that you know and love, but now it has modern graphics, and it was built to include some VR mechanics, so this is yet another sale that you shouldn't pass on. But the most insane deal has to be Star Wars Squadrons, currently at $5.99. This is your chance to jump in iconic Rebel and Imperial space fighters, and then hyperdrive your way into some epic battles. Unfortunately though, at this point, the multiplayer has definitely dried up, but there is a 12-hour single-player campaign. You could still set up some co-op modes with your buddies, and if you're lucky, you will still find a few online matches, or you could go up against some bots. And the last sale that I have to mention is for Propagation Paradise Hotel. It's currently half price at only $10 on the PlayStation Store, making it super easy to recommend. This is your typical old school zombie horror game, which clearly pulls some inspiration from early Resident Evil games. It's on the shorter side and the very beginning is a little slow, but overall it's a fantastic horror game that I highly recommend. And those right there were just some of the sales that I recommend. There's plenty of other titles currently discounted on Steam and the PlayStation Store, so if you've been itching to purchase a new game, go check those storefronts right now. And I would also love to hear down in the comments what cheap games you would recommend. For now though, let's move into the games that are $19.99 or less year-round. First up was the flat game turned VR game turned crossplay game Among Us 3D. That's right guys, you can get all the same Who's the Imposter drama in VR, having a blast, tricking and sabotaging your friends, but the Among Us VR version has recently expanded into Among Us 3D, which is now playable in both flat and VR with cross-play. So it's that same fun-filled level of betrayal that you've come to know and love, but now available from a new perspective with a new community. It's a great way to spend $10, and I highly recommend you bring some friends along. And speaking of bringing friends along, another must-play co-op experience is Phasmophobia. This 4-person ghost hunting title is equal parts terrifying and hilarious. I never expected to have so much fun while peeing my pants and running for my life, but it's just hilarious to see your friends in the same state. It's also fairly strategic with a lot of unexpected surprises, and there's a massive amount of replayability for those who want the biggest bang for their buck. But for now, let's move away from multiplayer and get into some kick-ass single-player games, starting with The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. This right here is an absolute classic and possibly Skydance at their best. You'll take on the role of the tourist, who's just another person trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. But in between all that scrounging for survival and bashing in the brains of zombies, you'll also find yourself roped into some warring factions. As an outsider, everyone is expecting and hoping for your allegiance, but it will be up to you to choose a side. This is honestly one of the first well-known IP and bigger titles we got in VR, and even after 5 years, it's still worth checking out. But if you primarily play VR for physics-based combat, then another easy recommendation is Swordsman VR. Now this is also currently on sale for the PlayStation VR 2, but even at $20, the game is worth it. This is an arena fighter that has you battling against multiple different historical warriors like Vikings and medieval knights, but it also moves into some more fantasy-based worlds with a Pirates of the Caribbean style battle that features a kraken and a couple magic-wielding demonic enemies. There's also a full leveling system that allows you to take your character from wimpy warrior all the way up to supernatural beast. Now, if you're looking for a deep storyline, you could probably skip this one, But if you're here for excellent combat and replayability, definitely check this one out. Now for the co-op shooter fans out there, we have After the Fall. This is basically Left 4 Dead in VR, except the zombies are referred to as the snow breed, and everything takes on a frozen theme. Apparently in the world of After the Fall, humanity accidentally broke the climate and created zombies at the same time. The world is overrun by these creatures and humanity is forced to live underground, but there is an active resistance that you and 3 others can take part in. There's a whole series of story-driven levels where you mow down tons of zombies and then unlock new weapons and cosmetics. There's also a PvP and horde mode for when you want to change things up, and even though this game is fairly old, it still has a decently active player base. But if you're not big into playing with internet randos, I would recommend you talk a couple friends into picking this one up. Now, if you're completely multiplayer adverse and enjoy something like Superhot, well then you need to check out Vendetta Forever. It's got that same style of enemies only move when you move type of gameplay, but it also features this really unique locomotion mechanic called kill motion, where every time you eliminate an enemy, you can reach for and teleport to their weapon. This turns the combat into more of a puzzle game, and it also has plenty of unique levels that were inspired by classic action movies. I personally enjoy having shootouts in the dark, or taking on the role of Tony Montana from Scarface. But while we're on the topic of shooters, I couldn't skip one of my all-time favorites, Vertigo Remastered. As a half-like, it's clearly inspired by that iconic series, but it just has a much more zany style. You'll find yourself trapped underground in a giant research facility, but everything from the robots, security system, and fellow aliens are far from anything typical. It's a really wacky contrast because the shooter mechanics and difficulty keep this game quite serious, but everything else is quite outlandish. In my humble opinion, it's an absolute must play, especially for only $19.99. But if you want some more replayability in your shooters, you have to go for the classic title Compound. This was a very early and extremely beloved VR title that almost blends a traditional boomer shooter with a roguelite. In typical roguelite fashion, you're traveling through a procedurally generated base and death is permanent. You will, however, gain access to permanent unlockables, and it just offers up a perfect shooter gameplay loop that keeps you coming back for more and more. Now, we also have a similar experience for the dungeon crawling fans out there. At first glance, Ancient Dungeon might look like Minecraft, but it's a really deep dungeon crawling adventure title that recently added multiplayer. Playable in both solo or up to 4-person co-op modes, you get to dive into procedurally generated dungeons, slash through enemies with physics-based combat, collect loot, and unlock some powerful new upgrades. So it's basically everything you're looking for in a dungeon crawler, unless of course you're a graphics whore, then this game might not be for you. Now we're coming up to the last 5 games in this video, and once we get past this shooter, everything else is really unique, so make sure you hang out for those last 4 games. How does playing the classic shooter Counter-Strike in VR sound to you? Well, in that case, you have to pick up Pavlov Shack. It is directly inspired by the Counter-Strike shooter, including all aspects from the graphics to gameplay modes, and even the large array of built-in mods. Now, I would recommend this game on all platforms. However, the Quest version, Pavlov Shack, is the only one available for under $20. Now, that might set off some alarm bells or feel like a red flag, but it still has all the action of the PC and PlayStation VR 2 version, including the mods. It just doesn't have cross-play support. And now let's move into those 4 unique titles that I promised you guys. The first one is another all-time favorite of mine, and that is Go Signal, a Stellaris game. This is a third-person, spaceship-controlling, rogue-like title. After receiving a mysterious signal, you find yourself trapped in a time loop, and you'll need to continually dive deeper and deeper into space in order to track down that signal. Now, anytime you fail, the time loop starts over, but you will get some persistent unlockables. Now, each run deeper and deeper into space comes with tons of risk versus reward, lots of unique randomized power-ups, and some truly epic boss battles that feel like David versus Goliath. At $10, this is an absolute steal. There's tons of replayability here, and the first time I jumped into this game, I played for 4 hours straight. It's an excellent change of pace, something VR truly needed, and it's one of the few VR games that you don't have to get all sweaty when you're playing. But if you like the sweat, we have another unique mashup of gameplay elements with Barbaria. In many ways, it's an arena fighter like Gorn. However, there's also base building and asymmetrical multiplayer. You're going to be bashing your way through player-made dungeons, and then taking loot home to upgrade yourself, your minions, and your own base. In your off time, players will come raid your base, but you could rewatch the battle and see how everything went down, hopefully learning some new ways to better structure your defenses. I was surprised to see just how much this game offers. After like 6-7+ hours, you're still unlocking new features. So between unlocking cool new gear and special abilities, you're also leveling up your minions and creating your very own badass dungeon. I absolutely cannot recommend this game enough. It is an absolute hidden gem. Just like our next game, the Tower Defense Iron Guard. As a tower defense title, the concept is pretty simple. You'll build up some turret defenses, and hopefully you put together the right combination in order to eliminate all the enemies. You also have a hand control chip that you use to assist in the fight, but what truly makes this game special is just how addictive it is, the cool environments that you're fighting through, the level of strategy, and just the sheer number of upgrades and levels to play through. Overall, it's a fantastic title, and it just found its way onto the PlayStation VR 2, so now everyone can experience this game. And last up, we can't forget Dragon Fist VR Kung Fu. This is basically your old school fighting game like Street Fighter, but utilizing physics-based mechanics. There's a massive single player campaign filled with a ton of different warriors, all who have their own strengths, weaknesses, and special ability. Now, amazingly, this game is also fully playable in multiplayer, making it one of the only multiplayer physics-based brawlers out there. Now, there are a few other titles that come close like Creed and Thrill of the Fight, but they're not fantasy-based fighting games like this one. And that right there, guys, was today's list of the best VR games under $20. I highly recommend you go take advantage of some of the sales that are currently running, or whenever you have a chance, you pick up any of these games because you won't be disappointed. Now, I'd love to hear down in the comments if you have any other recommendations, or even if you disagree with me on this list. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.